In the 4 years since the Carlile report onto the terrorism bill was published, do you think the government has improved its record on civil liberties?
I think probably the government's record on civil liberties has remained approximately the same as 4 years ago, with the important exception of the reduction in the use of Section 44 of the Terrorism Act, which is now taking place. When I say that, I'm not necessarily criticising the government, but when we look back on this government, whatever happens at the next election, the monument to the Blair-Brown government will be the Human Rights Act and the incorporation of the European Convention on Human Rights into United Kingdom domestic law. That has perhaps been the most major step in civil liberties, and it's something a Liberal Democrat government would have done for, certainly since the end of the Second World War, or at the very least since the general adoption of the European Convention on Human Rights in 1948. So I don't think it's right to be too harsh on the government in examining under the microscope its human rights record. I do think that there can be significant improvements. For example, in my view, DNA records of people who have not been prosecuted, have been arrested but not been prosecuted, are being held for too long, especially in non-terrorism cases. And I'm not particularly encouraged by what I heard on the radio recently from the Shadow Home Secretary, who is still talking about keeping the records of people arrested, for example, for a sexual offence, for at least 5 years. I mean, the fact is that an awful lot of people are arrested for sexual offences because they're guilty, but an awful lot of people are arrested because they're not guilty. Most people who are the subject of a complaint of rape are never convicted of an offence. And I'm not sure that I can see logically or ethically why their DNA should be retained for up to 5 years.
On behalf of Youth on DebateWise, thank you very much, Lord Carlile, for answering the questions and for doing so thoroughly and so frankly. Thank you.
It's a pleasure to answer all their questions anytime.
Thank you very much.